Welcome to MindShift Power Podcast, a show for teenagers and the adults who work with them, where we have raw and honest conversations. I'm your host, Fatima Bey The MindShifter. Hello and welcome. On today's show, we have a teenage girl. Her name is Janiyah. She's 17, out of Amsterdam, New York, and she's going into her senior year of high school this year. And we're going to talk about her journey over the past 6 months, because this girl has done a complete flip around over the past 6 months. So we're going to talk about that and how it happened. I am so proud of her. I met Janiyah at a girls group that I used to hold called Blossoms, and it was specifically a group for teenage girls to just vent and talk about their issues and come up with solutions amongst each other. And that's where I met Janiyah. And that was the first time that she opened up to really anybody, and got to know her from there. And from there, ended up coaching her. And those of you who don't already know, I am a MindShift coach. So as a MindShift coach, I'm a specially niched life coach. And what that means is that I really focus on shifting your thinking. Before I give you any tools or anything else, I focus on your patterns of thinking and have you say and do things that shift them around. Then we talk about goals and everything else. But I focus on shifting your thinking first. And I've done that with Janiyah. So I'm going to let her tell you her story just over the past 6 months. So Janiyah, how are you doing?
Good.
Now, I want you to tell the audience listening, how did you feel about yourself and your future about 6 months ago?
6 months ago, honestly, I was a lost soul. I didn't know who I was. I always doubted myself, thinking like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna get through. I'm not gonna get through school. I'm not gonna go to college. I'm too dumb for this. Because I also even got told that, other people, that I was slow, something was wrong with me, and all those negative comments about other people, what other people have to say about me. I end up believing it, but now it's different ever since I met Miss Bay.
Yes. And honestly, y'all, she's understating it. I'm gonna re-summarize it, Janiyah. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but you had very low self-esteem,
Yes, that too.
right?
Yeah,
You didn't know who you were.
no,
You didn't know that you had any value.
no,
You didn't even know that you have gifts.
no, I did not. I did not.
And all that was what? Bullshit, right?
Yes.
Straight up not true. But it is where you were. Also 6 months ago, how did you see your future?
Honestly, I seen myself as a teacher. I thought I was going to be a teacher, but now I'm not, because I realized that I'm not born to be a teacher. I'm actually born to be a family lawyer.
She jumped right to it. so so 6 months ago, you mentioned earlier you didn't even think you were going to finish school, much less go to multiple years of college.
Yeah.
You didn't know that you had gifts. You didn't know who you were. And I'm saying all of that because I know there's people out there listening right now who are where you were. And so now that it's 6 months later, and the truth is, it's 6 months later right now, but it was really within 4 months that all of this happened. So, how do you see yourself now? And how do you see your future now?
Now I can see my future because I have a plan. So now after high school, I'm going to college, and then I'm gonna get my bachelor's in psychology, and then after that, I'm gonna look into law school and do my 3 years of law school, and then after that, that's when my career starts, and that's just how I see myself as now.
Now, you couldn't have said that 6 months ago.
I couldn't, I really could not, because old me, like right now, would have been like, what, you really doing this, really? You're going to college for 4 years, getting your bachelor's, you're gonna be a lawyer? What, are you serious?
I understand that. Um, how do you see yourself now? Now, you said before you thought you were um, essentially stupid. You thought you didn't
Now,
have any value. How do you see yourself now?
now it's like I notice, and not even I notice, I learned about myself that I have a lot, like I have a lot to value, and I'm like really, really, really smart. I'm not book smart, but when it comes to like, life and like social stuff, like social things, I'm very, very smart at that. Because when I was talking to Miss Bay, and she was just saying like, so what are you good at? Like, oh, she's like, what are you good at? What do you like to do? And like, she just asked me lots of questions, and I'm like, why is this woman asking me this? I don't know what's good about me. Like, I'm just here. Like, I'm just here in this. I'm here in this earth. I don't have no value. Like, I don't know nothing about myself. And then the more I was talking to her, she was like, you see things what other people don't see. And then I didn't even notice that. So I'm like, when I didn't know who I was using special gifts like every day. And I did not realize that was a special gift until I met Miss Pay.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. And what Janiyah is talking about is that she was always put down for her way of thinking. She doesn't think like the average person, her peers around her. To be honest with you, she thinks a lot more like an adult than some adults I know. I'm just being real. Um, and I've shared that with her eventually, but Janiyah's way of thinking is different than her peers. And what I was able to show her is that her way of thinking is actually a gift, not a curse, not something to be put down, but a huge blessing that the rest of us need. Because people like her, they're the ones, they're the innovators, they're the ones that blaze pathways for the rest of us. But the problem is that there's more people like her who are not blazing pathways because they're still sitting there believing that they're stupid and not worth anything. And to that, I say that's just not true. Um, so tell us a little bit more about okay, you went from within 6 months feeling like you're nothing to knowing that you're something and knowing that you have gifts. How did you find out that besides me just telling you that your way of thinking is a gift, how did you discover some of your other gifts, some of your talents, some of the good things about yourself?
So basically, once you gave me that little push, because like you knew all the things about me, but you wanted me to figure it out.
And I
You
told you
wanted
that
me,
too.
yes, you wanted me like, you're gonna figure this out.
Hmm.
So when I, so like another thing that I noticed that was a special skill was I talked to myself. And how I figured that out was I'm like, okay, Miss Bay said that I see things what Miss Bay said that I see things what other people don't see. So like, what else? Like, what else? What else? And I'm saying, what else? What else? What else? I'm talking. I'm like, holy crap! I'm talking to myself right now. That's a special gift. So then I'm like, oh my god, I talk to myself all the time. I'm like, is this weird? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's really not. And then I'm like, okay, what else? Like, what else I do? I noticed that um I like explaining things to people, and I'm like, oh my god, like, why do I like to talk a lot? Like, why do I like to explain a lot of stuff? And then the more I started picking out stuff about me, I started to like get into it more and more and more. And also, I like to argue a lot. And I will not stop an argument until I get an answer. I can ask someone the same question, and I'm like, okay, let me ask them the same question, but I'm gonna switch it up.
Gee, that
That
sounds a
don't
lot
work.
like a lawyer.
If that don't work, I'm gonna switch it up again until I get an answer. And I thought I was annoying, but no, that's a gift. So
Now, I want to stop you right there because I want to talk to again to the audience because I know that there are millions of Janiyahs out there right now who are listening, and you may be listening to this a year or two after this is being recorded, but you're still where she was. Your gifts are not annoying. They might annoy people who don't understand them, but some of those things that are just seem natural about you, they're probably undiscovered gifts that you just haven't mastered yet. And maybe everybody's telling you, stop always arguing, stop talking so much, shut up. Don't nobody want to hear all them questions. Shut the hell up. And some of you hear people talking to you like that, right?
Yeah, all the time.
And it's because they don't understand what you have. So some of
Mhm.
those things that you're seeing bad about yourself, this does not apply to everybody, everywhere, and about everything, but it does apply to many. Some of
Mhm.
those things that you see as bad about yourself are might be in fact beautiful gifts that the rest of us need. Now, Janiyah is telling you that she was able to see that these things that people were putting her down about were in fact valuable assets that she owns, that God put there, that she was
Mhm.
created with, right?
Yeah, yeah, like all the
What
time.
assignment did I give you to help you discover that?
What helped me, so the first assignment would actually help me like discover, um wait, like to discover who I am.
Yeah. But let me back up to the other assignment I gave you. What's the very first thing I had you do the very first day of Blossoms that was all weird, but I had you do it anyway?
Okay, so this was pretty weird, but I got used to it. So she gave me lotion and she said,
Homemade lotion. I
just,
made it myself. Go ahead.
yeah, lotion. So she gave me lotion and she was like, okay, I want you to take this lotion, rub it on yourself and be like, I am beautiful. But then the second session, the second time I met, the second time I was with her, sorry, she said, okay, I want you to also say you are precious. So then I started to do it, do it, and do it. And I actually started to believe in my mind, started to believe, and now I can say I'm precious without feeling weird. I could take lotion and rub it on my body and not feel weird about it at all. And it works. Some of my family members think it's weird, but oh well.
So
But
when I first met you, when I first asked you to do that assignment to rub lotion on yourself and say these basically positive affirmations, uh, but while doing the action of rubbing the lotion that was also scented, um, that was all intentional. I paid a lot of attention to detail. And when you first did it, it was very weird, right?
I'm
It was
like,
so
yeah, I'm
strange.
like, oh, like, whoa, I am beautiful. Why? Like, oh my God, this don't make sense at all.
But it started making sense after a while,
Yeah, I
and you
got
started
used
to
to it.
believe
So
it.
it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm precious. I'm beautiful. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And now you can't tell her otherwise. But then after you got used to, rubbing your hand or rubbing lotion on your body or whatever, and saying these positive affirmations, what did I have you do next?
Um,
I started having you do those affirmations, but in a different way.
wait, affirmations. Wait,
Who did you start talking to?
you?
No, the mirror.
Oh, me. My best friend. I've been talking to her. I talk to her every day. And I was like more closer with myself. And now it's like I talk to myself in the mirror. Sometimes like I see myself in the reflection. I'm not gonna get into that. But um um it actually works because when I first started to when I first started to look myself in the mirror and tell myself about all these positive things. It was weird,
Mhm.
just like how I started with the lotion. But after that, it's like, hey, you, I'm talking to you again. How are you doing today?
So much so that you gotta like stop her from talking to herself now. But I want to mention a detail that I gave you at the time, and that was I had you specifically to look in the mirror and talk to yourself, looking into your own eyes. That is that was very difficult at first, wasn't it?
It was weird because it was very difficult because I will always talk to myself, always, but like talking to myself in the mirror was just very weird for me. Now it's like, yeah, now it's nothing to me now.
And as you begin to talk to yourself in the mirror more and more, was it like the lotion? Did you begin to feel more comfortable with it?
Yeah, it's the same thing, but the difference is I'm just talking to myself like in the mirror now. So
And just so listeners know, I actually don't even remember what the first thing that I had you say in the mirror was, because when I have people do this activity, I customize it. So it's not always, I don't always give everybody the same saying. I give them whatever
yeah.
saying is effective for them. So, and I also let them come up with some on their own. But as she began to talk to herself in the mirror, if you are a person with low self esteem, that can be very intimidating, and it's very, very, very hard at first. But
Yeah.
after a while, she began to believe what she said. So if you notice, I took her from rubbing lotion on her hand to looking in the mirror. I didn't take her straight to mirror talk because that would have been too overwhelming. And sometimes when we're trying to progress and get better in a certain area of life, we can't just jump from A to Z. We need to travel the alphabet. We need to go step by step or do little things at first. And sometimes we're discouraged because we might try to do something and we didn't go from A to Z because we don't realize we need to travel the alphabet. We need to, go step by step. And as you can hear with Janiyah, that really worked, for her. But um, in order for you to see that your way of thinking is actually a gift, there was another particular activity that I pushed you to do. What was it?
Um.
There's a few. The one I'm looking
There's
for
a
is when
one.
you started talking online.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So um I so one of the activities that she had me do was commenting, and if commenting because she wanted me to see all the feedback I got. And she said, okay, what do people say? Do you get bad feedback? Do you get good feedback? Like whatever. So I did
Feedback from
it
what?
from other people on
No,
a
what is it that you did that to get feedback from?
commenting and like using my thinking. And
Commenting. The audience doesn't know what you're talking about. That's what I'm asking.
oh, so if I say that, I see so I was on TikTok. TikTok is a good app to do it on.
Hmm.
So I'm scrolling, and if I something and see something, I just comment on it. I just comment on it to give my feedback. And and sometimes I'll get people will disagree with me or like what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what she told me before. When I gave her that activity so that she could see that her way of thinking was a gift. And I saw all this stuff from about her from day one. And she didn't believe me. And and I could see that. She didn't believe that I saw value in her. She didn't believe that I saw a diamond in the rough. She didn't believe that she had gifts and talents and intelligence. She didn't believe any of that. So I could have just said, you do have it. And I could have just told her that she has it. But none of that matters. It doesn't matter what we tell people. What matters is what they believe for themselves.
Yeah, because
So
when I was
with
commenting, I noticed like why is everyone saying the same thing? Like, no, we should be talking about this. Why is no one talking about this? Like, basically, I'm thinking deeper in the picture, and everyone is
mhm.
like somewhere else, and I'm like really, I'm really, really thinking. Like, I'm worrying about other things what other people is not worried about.
The way I would say it is the way Janiyah thinks is she connects the dots where other people just see dots.
Yeah.
And she's able to see the shape of what's on the page because she knows how to connect the dots and other people just see dots. That's a blessing because people like her are why we have the technology we have today. People like her are why court cases have been passed. people like her are why some of the laws we have been passed. Some of the good things that we have is her way of thinking. Is I needed her to see that for herself because I can tell all of you that you're beautiful, you're strong, you're intelligent, you're blah blah blah, whatever your details are. None of that matters if you don't believe it for yourself. And sometimes you just need to do something to see that, wait a minute, I'm just not on the same level as everybody else. I'm
Yeah.
not It's not because you're dumb, but because you were thinking deeper. I would say most people are swimming in the shallow pool and she's over at the deep end doing backflips. When it comes to thought. Now, one of the things that Janiyah is excellent at is giving analogies. So your sister one day asked you, "Who's this Miss Bay to you?" Tell the audience what you explained to her, who I am to you.
So I told her she's a mind shifter coach, as she said, and she was like, "But like, what did she do? Like, what did she do for you?" So I told her how, I have all these self-esteem problems, and I'm thinking something's wrong with me. But then, she fixed that, and there was times where I felt like after Miss Bay told me that, there was times where I felt like I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm stupid. I'm slow. Blah blah blah. And then she told me, like, I talked to Miss Bay about it. I'm like, Miss Bay, I really think I'm slow. I really think I'm this. And she's like, no, you're not. And then she reminds me of who I am. And what I can compare that to is like, it's like riding a bike. And you know how when a little kid is trying to ride a bike for the first time, but and then they have the parent holding them to keep their balance. So then the parent let go. So then the kid is like, shaking a bit, but the kid's getting it. He's getting it. But there was times where he fell. And then that's when the parent or whoever is teaching the kid how to ride a bike, the parent will get their kid right back up, sit them down on the bike, hold them again, and like let them go. And after a while, the kid will ride. Will have the after a while the kid will end up learning how to ride the bike by itself, and that's what it was like for me.
Yes, and I thought, and I had Janiyah share that analogy with you because I just think it's a perfect analogy. But let me tell you, I'm really good at analogies. She like Sometimes she blows me away, and I'm like, I need to write that down. So I keep telling her I'm gonna steal some of them. She's just really, really good at really, really good at analogies. And that when she said that to me, I was like, wow, that really. I was just floored when she said that. I'm like, that is a better analogy than anything I was thinking of. Um, because as a coach, that is what I want to do. I Part of the reason I started this podcast is what I've done with you, I want to do on a bigger scale for others. And if y'all listen long enough, I can. But I want you to know the victories and the beautiful things that you see with Janiyah and the changes that you see with Janiyah it isn't because just I'm an awesome coach. It's because it's teamwork. I'm a coach. I pushed her. I challenged her. I asked her questions, made her think. I plant thought seeds. I
Yeah,
encourage her. I do all of that, but none of that matters if she's not willing to receive it and act on
right.
it.
And also, another reason why who I am today, because I also got my support from I go to an after school program that calls the Creative Connections Clubhouse, and how it
In
was like,
Amsterdam.
yeah, in Amsterdam, New York.
And they're
How it was,
awesome.
yes, they are. How it was like for me is like the workers, they seen that I had value. So what they did was, it's like I was the seed and they was the planters. So they decided to like take the seed, put it in soil, but Miss Bay came and watered me, and I grew. And that's how it was also like.
I gotta comment on that. What she's saying, what I want to point out about what she just said, is that yes, I coached her. I'm there to encourage her. I'm there to push her and help her and all of that. But it's not just me alone.
Yeah.
She had support outside of me, and that matters. We need the people around us to also be the encouragers, because even though I was there to help, it wouldn't have been the same if the wonderful people at the Creative Connection Clubhouse didn't also encourage her. I pushed her. They did a whole lot to encourage her and help her in other ways. They helped her get her permit. They've been great. But you need people. In her case, it was people at Creative Connection Clubhouse. In other people's cases, it might be family. It might be people at school. It might not be your family. It might be whoever's around you that can help you. It's important that if you're an adult listening, be that encouragement for a teenager. You don't know what's going on in their head. They might be smiling at you and looking like, yeah, okay. But on the inside, they might be feeling like a ball of crap. And
Yeah.
your encouragement might make the difference on them coming out from that and feeling better about themselves. Now, I want to real quick talk about the fact that you decided that you want to be a family lawyer. Did I ever tell you that that's what your calling is?
No.
No. I let you discover it for yourself. And the
Mm,
truth is, Janiyah is capable of a lot of other things besides just being a lawyer, but that's the one that she's most passionate about. She's capable of quite a few positions. Um, but when you decided that family lawyer is specifically, that's exactly what I want to be, and now you're very stern about it. You're very serious about it. How did you arrive at that conclusion?
So, um, how I discovered I wanted to be a family lawyer because you gave me an assignment and you told me whatever you wanted to do when you was like younger. Um, that is why you think that's why you think very differently, and that's why you talk a lot and you explain a lot of stuff. So then one night I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, what the hell did I wanted to do when I was like little? So I'm thinking about all the past things I wanted to do. So the only thing I could really thought of, I'm like, well, when I was little, I said I wanted to be a gymnast at the Olympics, and I'm like, but that has nothing to do that has nothing to do on why I see things what other people don't see in my other special gifts. I'm like, what about an operator? I'm like, no. So then I remembered when I was 14, I wanted to be a lawyer. So I remembered um I wanted to be a lawyer. So then I'm like, holy crap, that is why I have that is why I see all these that's why I see things what other people don't see. That is why I explain a lot of stuff. That's why I argue all the time because I'm born to be a lawyer. But then I'm like, okay, but there's different types of lawyers, so which kind? So then I'm looking on Google to see what kind of lawyers. I'm seeing all these different types of lawyers, and I see family lawyer. And I'm looking at the positions on like what they have to do, what's their job. I'm like, oh my god, this is like for me because I can help. I can help kids. I can also help kids because I want to be that person. I want to be that person what my younger self needed, and that when I figured that out, that motivated me even more to go to school and go to college. And now I'm just more excited than ever.
And what is it that you're doing right now to prepare for college?
Doing scholarships.
Yes, y'all. And why are you looking up scholarships?
Um, to help to spend less money in college, to not be
Yep.
in debt in college after.
Yes, we're gonna do a whole nother show on that. But that's something that I had her um, really really look into. And what else encouraged you to stay on the path of looking of seeking to be a family lawyer? You had a
Um,
conversation with somebody.
oh, I spoke to another. So helped. Miss Bay helped me to try to find someone who was a family lawyer to like to make sure I really want to do this. And then then she found one, and then we spoke on the phone, and I'm like, after, so she's telling me what comes with being a lawyer, and she's just explaining it, telling me the things, what you have to do, what she recommended. And I'm like, yeah, this is really for me. And that's that day, that's how I knew. I'm like, yeah, I'm born to be a family lawyer. I got this.
So for those of you listening, I hope that you can get out of what she just said. I connected her with a family lawyer because I wanted her to be sure. I saw that she was making the right choice, but again, it doesn't matter what I think because I'm not living her life. She is. She has to be determined. She has to have the drive to do what she needs to do, not me. So I put her in connection with a lawyer so that she can make sure that this is really what the path that she wanted to go on. Um, and once she did, now her determination is even greater. And our time is up, but Janiyah, I just wanted to say I am so proud of you. I know I've said this off the air, but I'm gonna say it on the air. I am so proud of the person that you've become and who you are becoming because you've only just begun.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on the show. And you guys are going to hear a lot more from Janiyah because she'll be on some upcoming episodes with other people. So thank you again, Janiyah, and thanks again for listeners. And now for a mind-shifting moment. I'm specifically right now talking to the young women out there who are where Janiyah was. You feel stupid, worthless, like you have no talents. And I want you to know that that's not true. If you are listening right now, you do have gifts, you have talents, you have intelligence. Your intelligence just might be where other people can't see it or where it's not expected. Doesn't mean it's not there. And like Janiyah, you too can turn yourself around. What you have to first do is decide that you are going to discover who you are. What are your gifts and talents? Because I promise you, once you discover that, a whole lot of other things will start looking up. And even if I never meet you, I want you to know that you have value and you're cared about. Thank you for listening to MindShift Power Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The MindShifter. If you have any comments, topic suggestions, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit fatimabey.com/podcast. Remember, there's power in shifting your thinking. Tune in for next week.